Have you ever felt powerless when someone keeps disrespecting your property? Meet Karen, the woman who thought my lawn was her personal parking spot. Every single day she parked her fancy SUV on my grass, killing my flowers and ignoring my polite requests to stop. Little did she know, I had a muddy surprise waiting that would teach her a lesson she'd never forget. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. I never thought I'd become the neighborhood's revenge mastermind, but sometimes life pushes you to creative solutions. This is the story of how I dealt with the most entitled Karen you could imagine, and trust me, the ending is worth sticking around for. It started 3 months ago when a shiny white SUV began parking on the corner of my front lawn. At first, I thought it was a one-time thing, maybe someone visiting a neighbor had run out of parking space. No big deal, right? Wrong. The next day the same SUV was back, parked in exactly the same spot, crushing my carefully planted flower bed. I watched from my window as a woman in her 40s with the classic, "I want to speak to your manager," haircut stepped out, dressed in expensive workout clothes. She casually locked her car and walked across the street to the new fancy coffee shop that had opened recently. I decided to be nice and leave a polite note on her windshield, "Please don't park on my lawn. It damages the grass and flowers." "Thank you." When she returned an hour later, I watched her read my note, roll her eyes, crumple it up, and toss it on my lawn before driving away. My blood boiled, but I took a deep breath. Maybe she just had a bad day. The next day, not only was she back, but she had parked even further onto my lawn. This time, I went outside to speak with her directly. "Excuse me," I said as she was getting out of her car. "This is private property and I'd appreciate it if you didn't park here." She looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. "There's no parking at the coffee shop and street parking is always full. It's just a little bit of grass, it'll grow back," she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "But this is my property," I insisted. "Well, I'll just be an hour. It's not like you're using this part of your lawn anyway." She flipped her hair and walked away, leaving me standing there in disbelief. This continued for weeks. Every single day she'd park on my lawn, ignore my request to stop, and even started bringing friends who would park there too. My beautiful lawn was turning into a muddy mess with tire tracks everywhere. I tried everything. More polite notes. Calling the local police, who said they couldn't do much since it was a civil matter. Putting up no parking signs, which she ignored. Even placing large decorative rocks along the edge, which she simply drove around. Nothing worked. In fact, it seemed like my efforts only encouraged her. She'd give me smug looks whenever we crossed paths, as if she was enjoying watching me get more and more frustrated. The last straw came when I overheard her at the coffee shop. Yes, I went in to spy on her, bragging to her friends about this pathetic guy who thinks he owns the street, and how she puts him in his place every day. Her friends laughed as she mimicked my frustrated face. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about how this woman had not only ruined my lawn but was now making fun of me to her friends. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to be bullied anymore. But I didn't want a confrontation that would get me in trouble. I needed something clever, something that would teach her a lesson without breaking any laws. And then, at 3 a.m. the perfect plan came to me. I smiled in the darkness and finally fell asleep. The next day was Saturday, and I knew Karen wouldn't show up until Monday morning for her coffee run. I spent all weekend working on my trap. I dug up the area where she usually parked and mixed the polymer deep into the soil. I then installed a sprinkler system with a timer, carefully hiding the sprinkler heads in my flower bed. I covered everything with a thin layer of fresh soil and replanted some grass so it looked normal. The system was set to activate at exactly 9:15 a.m., 15 minutes after she typically parked and walked to the coffee shop. The hidden camera was positioned perfectly to capture everything from my front window. Monday came and I pretended to leave for work but actually parked my car around the corner and walked back to watch from my neighbor's house. He was in on the plan and equally annoyed by Karen. Right on schedule at 9 a.m., Karen's white SUV pulled up. She parked in her usual spot, right on my lawn, and walked away with her designer handbag swinging. At 9:15 a.m., the timer activated and the sprinklers turned on, but they weren't visible since they were hidden in the flower bed. All that water started activating the polymer in the soil. At first, nothing seemed to happen. But by 9:30, the ground under her car started to change. The soil became softer and mushier as the polymers expanded. By 9:45, her car had sunk about 2 inches into what was now becoming a muddy, quicksand-like mess. At 10 a.m., Karen returned from the coffee shop with her cup in hand. I'll never forget the look on her face when she saw her precious SUV sitting in what now looked like a swamp. The tires had sunk about 4 inches deep into the mud. She ran to her car, her designer shoes getting covered in mud. When she tried to open the door, she sank another inch and mud splashed onto her expensive white pants. "What the?" she screamed, looking around frantically. She got in and started the engine, but when she tried to back out, the wheels just spun in the mud, digging her car in deeper and spraying mud all over herself and her car. After several failed attempts, she got out, now covered in mud from her shoes to her knees, and looked around in anger and panic. That's when she spotted me walking calmly up my driveway as if I'd just returned home. "You!" she yelled, pointing a mud-covered finger at me. "What did you do to my car?" I put on my most innocent face. "Me? I didn't do anything to your car. But it looks like you parked on my newly irrigated gardening project. I'm testing a new soil composition for better water retention. Guess it works pretty well, huh?" "You did this on purpose," she screamed, her face turning red. "Did what? Gardened on my own property? Last I checked, that was perfectly legal." I shrugged. "Unlike, say, parking on someone's private property repeatedly after being asked not to." Her face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. "Get my car out of here right now," she demanded. "I'm afraid I can't help you with that. But I'd be happy to call a tow truck for you, at your expense of course. They might have special equipment for this kind of situation." By now, a small crowd had gathered, including some of the coffee shop customers who recognized Karen. Several people were trying not to laugh. Someone was even recording the whole scene on their phone. "This isn't over," she hissed, pulling out her phone to call for help. "You're right," I said pleasantly. "The polymer takes about 24 hours to fully dissolve once it dries out. So your car should be free by tomorrow afternoon, unless it rains of course." It cost Karen $350 for a specialized tow truck to extract her mud-covered SUV. The video of her meltdown went viral on our neighborhood social media group, with many neighbors coming forward with their own Karen stories about her. The best part? She never parked on my lawn again. In fact, she stopped going to that coffee shop altogether after several people started calling her Mud Karen whenever she showed up. Word spread fast, and soon I was getting thank you messages from other neighbors who had apparently suffered from her entitled behavior in other ways. One told me she had regularly blocked their driveway, another said she let her dog poop on their yard and never picked it up, and someone else mentioned how she always took up 2 parking spaces at the local grocery store. As for my lawn, I fixed it properly once I was sure Karen wouldn't return. I planted new flowers and even added a decorative fence, not that I needed it anymore. The final cherry on top came a month later when I received a letter from Karen's husband. I opened it cautiously, expecting threats or demands for compensation for car cleaning. Instead, I found a handwritten apology note and a gift card to a garden center. The note read, "I recently found out what my wife has been doing to your property, and I'm deeply embarrassed and sorry." She showed me the video that's been going around and tried to paint herself as the victim, but I could clearly see she was in the wrong. "We're going through some personal issues right now, but that's no excuse for her behavior. The gift card is to help restore your garden. Also, I want you to know she's starting therapy next week to work on her entitlement issues. Thank you for the wake-up call we needed. Dave." I used the gift card to buy some beautiful new plants and a small bench where I now sit every morning with my coffee, enjoying my Karen-free lawn. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about getting even. It's about standing up for yourself in a way that makes someone realize they can't walk all over you or anyone else. And if that lesson comes with a muddy designer outfit and a viral video, well, that's just a bonus.